بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. المرحلة الثالثة قسم اللغة الإنكليزية، أستاذ محمد البدري، مادة علم اللغة Linguistics with chapter number 4, right? So today we have chapter number 4. We are going to talk about phonology, okay? We talked about phonetics in chapter number 3, and now we have chapter number 4. And you know that phonetics and phonology are related to each other, and you are familiar with them in the first and the second stages. Okay, so we will start with phonology to know what is phonology. Phonology is essentially the description of the systems and patterns of speech sounds in a language, right? It is in effect based on a theory of what every speaker of language unconsciously knows about the sound patterns of that language. So it is something unconscious. Because of this theoretical status, phonology is concerned with the abstract or mental aspect of the sounds in language. Okay, so phonology is what is inside mind. It is mental aspect, something abstract, not concrete, not the actual physical articulation. It is not this. It is what? It is mental. It is internalized inside a human's brain. Okay? Something innate inside a human. Not something uttered. Not actual physical articulation. So this is what? This is phonology. Okay? We have here some details. You can read them. They are not important. We come to this point when we come to this paragraph. However, all these articulation differences in t sounds are less important to us than the distinction between t sounds in general and the k sounds. So this is phonology. We said that phonetics is the study of what human speech sounds, how sounds are produced, how sounds are made. But when we come to phonology, it is not with how sounds are produced, rather with the system of these sounds. Okay, so for example, if we come to the sounds t and k, or f sound, p sounds, they are important here, distinction between them. Why? Because there are meaningful consequences related to the use of one rather than the others. These sounds must be distinct, meaningful sounds, regardless of which individual vocal tract is being used to pronounce them, because they are what make the words tar, car, far, and bar meaningfully distinct. Okay, so they are what? They are distinct here. T, if we change T to se, if we put here letter T and letter C here, the words are different. And even if we change here fe, we will have another word, and be, we will have another word. So it is what meaningful here. Consider from this point of view, we can see that phonology, so from this point, another definition for phonology is concerned with the abstract set of sounds in in a language that allows us to distinguish meaning in the actual physical sound we say and hear. This is another definition of phonology. Okay, so this is phonology. It is with the system. It is with internalized knowledge in our mind. Okay, it is something abstract, something mental. Right? This is what? This is phonology. But when we come to phonetics, no, it is with the actual articulation, actual speech, actual production. We come to phoneme. What is phoneme? Each one of these meaningful distinguishing sounds, meaningful in it, t, k, f, b, in a language is described as phoneme. Okay, so phoneme is what? Is each of these sounds, of these meaningful distinguished sounds in a language, is described phoneme. So phoneme is the smallest meaningful unit. It is what? The smallest meaningful unit. واحد. Good. How it is meaningful? It is meaningful in the sense that when you change one letter into another, you will have what? Another word, different meanings. That's why we say it is the smallest meaningful unit, and it is meaningful, of course. When we learn to use alphabetic writing, we are actually using the concept of the phoneme as the single stable sound type, which is represented by a single written symbol. It is in the sense that the phoneme T is described as a sound type of which all the different spoken versions of T are tokens. Note that the slash marks, you are familiar with these. These two slashes refer to phoneme, and the brackets here refer to phonetic or physically produced segment. Yes. Here we have another examples. Okay, an essential property of phoneme is that it functions contrastively. We know that there are, for example, two phonemes, fe, ve. Okay, here, for example, fat and vat. If we change fe to ve, we have what? We have two different words, two meaningful words. Okay, this is phoneme, fe and ve. And each word has, or each phoneme has its own characteristics, has its own properties, has its own features. Okay, how to distinguish each phoneme from the next, each phoneme from other. You can put these, for example, sign minus and plus. This is plus, or we can say minus. For example, p, it is minus voice, it is voiceless, so minus voice, plus bilabial, plus stop. K is what? Minus voice, plus vela, plus stop, etc. Each one has own features. Each phoneme has own features, has own characteristics, has own properties. That's why we can make difference between each one of them. So we can distinguish each phoneme from the other by depending on the characteristics that each phoneme has. Here we have another example for V sound. You see here, etc. We go to this title, phones and allophones, and see what is the difference between phones and allophones. While the phoneme is the abstract unit or sound type in the mind, okay, we talked about this point and we said that it is something abstract, something mental inside the mind. This is the definition of phoneme. There are many different versions of that sound, many different versions, okay, that are produced in the mouth. We can describe those different versions as phones. So we can define phones as what? As the different versions of sound. Phones are phonetic units and appear in square blocks. We talked about this. When we have a set of phones, all of which are versions of one phoneme, we add the prefix, okay, allo. راح يصير لنا allophones. So this is the definition of allophones. One of closely related set. Okay, so we have this allophones of that phoneme. So this is when we have a set of phones. When we have a set of phones, all of which are versions of one phoneme. So this is what? Allophones. We have, for example, the sound T and the sounds or the letter T and the letter C. So C sometimes is pronounced as what? Sometimes it is pronounced C, and sometimes it is pronounced as Z, and sometimes it is pronounced as is. Okay? For example, when we say look, looks. But when we say dog, dogs, z. So different allophones. or when we say watches, is watches, so more than one. Even the ed, sometimes it is pronounced te, sometimes it is pronounced de, sometimes it is pronounced it. Okay, this is allophone. If we come to the sound te, the word ta is normally produced with a stronger buff of than is present in the t sound in the word star. If you put the back of your hand in the front of your mouth as you say ta and then star, you would be able to feel some physical evidence of aspiration. So here we have the definition and explanation of aspiration. And what is aspiration? All of you know the definition or the meaning of aspiration. It means a puff of air. When we have a puff of air, short breath after beta k, okay, after stop consonants, near beta k, okay. So we say try, okay. When we say pray, this is aspiration. Key, you can't feel it, right? Especially at the beginning of words. Then we have explanation of aspiration. You can read it. We have this point important here, the crucial distinction between phonemes and allophones. What is the difference between phonemes and allophones? Is that substituting one phoneme for another. You remember, I just said that when you change one phoneme into another, when we have different phonemes, we will result in what? In a word with different meaning. Okay? When we say, for example, far and bar. Okay, far and bar, we have different meaning as well as different pronunciation. But here, with a different meaning as well as different pronunciation, of course. And if we change bar and tar, so different words, different meanings, different pronunciation. But substituting, it means you're changing. Allophones only results in different and perhaps unusual pronunciation of the same sound. Okay, only we will have change where in the pronunciation. We say dogs, okay, dogs, okay, in the pronunciation say only say in the pronunciation, but with the phone, no, the change in the word, the whole word, meaning and pronunciation, right? We have here we have another example about vowel sound. We have nasalization. Can read it and what is nasalization and how some sounds are nasalized. We go to minimal pairs and set. Phonemic distinctions in a language can be tested via pairs and sets of words. When two words, for example, if we have two words such as bat and pat and bat, are identical in form, when we have two words, in other words, when we have two or more than two words, they are similar, but they are different in one phoneme. So they are identical in form, except for a contrast in one phoneme occurring in the same position. The two words are described as minimal pairs. So this is the definition of minimal pairs. I will put it in other words. When we have two words, both of these two words are similar. They are identical, but only one sound, the same position, usually the same position, is what is different. So we will have two different words. Okay, for example, far, tar, pat, bat. Okay, these are what? These are minimal pairs. More accurately, they would be classified as minimal pair in the phonology of English. Arabic, for example, does not have this contrast between p and b. ما عندنا هذا الشيء in Arabic. Other examples of English minimal pairs مثلا عندنا fan و van. شوف, two words, these two words are similar to each other, but only one phoneme is different. And we said if we have or if we change one phoneme in one word, okay, from each other, I mean if we have more than one word and if we change the phonemes, we will have different words on different meanings. Okay, so we have fan and van, bet and bat. Here we change vowel in the vowel. Sight and sight, sight and sight. You see here, such pairs have traditionally been used in the teaching and testing of English as a second or foreign language to help students develop the ability to understand the contrast in meaning based on the minimal sound contrast. If we have a group, when we have a group of words can be differentiated each one from the others by changing one phoneme, وحيطلع لنا minimal set, يعني minimal group. For example, feet, fit, fat, fate, fought, foot, you see? Big, pig, rig, fig, dig, wig, okay? مثل hog, rock, bug. هذين يكون all what are minimal set. You have so many examples. We come to this word, phonotactics. What is phonotactics? What is the definition of phonotactics? Let's see. This type of exercise involving minimal sets also allows us to see that there are definite patterns in the types of sound combination permitted in language. In English, the minimal set we have just listed does not include forms. Sometimes مثلا the minimal set مثلا in this minimal set we don't have words such as lig and fig. Someone can wonder and say why we don't have these words, why we don't have lig and fig. We have big, we have wig, but why we don't have lig or fig? Why? What is the reason behind the absence of such kinds of words? According to the dictionary, these are not English words. They are not English words. I mean, in other words, it means that when you go to a dictionary, you will not find these words, but they can be viewed as possible English words. Sometimes it's called disposable English words, but they are not what? They are not in dictionary. They are not English words. Yes, so when we say it is viewed as English words, that's our phonological knowledge of the pattern of sounds in English words would allow us to treat these forms as acceptable. Okay, knowledge احنا قلنا phonology is where in the mind phonological knowledge of the pattern and phonological in our mind pig, rig, fig. So why we don't have lig? Okay, in this way phonological allows us to treat these forms as acceptable if at some future time they came into use. Maybe in the future we will have these words. مثلا ممكن يصير عندنا lig or fig. They might, for example, begin as invented abbreviation. I think Baba is one very ignorant guy. Yeah, he is a big vig. Maybe. Until then, they represent accidental. That's why sometimes we call them accidental gaps in the vocabulary of English. Accidental gaps. It is, however, no accident that forms such as physic or rennig do not exist. These words do not exist, have no place in dictionary, or are unlikely ever to exist. They have been formed without obeying. I mean, these words are formed, are made with no obeying, some restraints on the sequence or position of English forms. Okay, so these words are formed without paying any attention to the rules or constraints of language. In the language, we have some rules and constraints. or restraints. So such restraints are called phonotactics. Okay, so phonotactics is what? Is some constraints. These constraints on the sequence or position of English phonemes. In other words, permitted arrangements of sounds, permitted, allowed arrangement of sounds in a language and are obviously part of every speaker's phonological knowledge. Okay, this is the definition of phonotactics. Or we can say that phonotactics in other words. Phonotactics deals with the ways in which phonemes are allowed to combine in a particular language. Okay, I will repeat the definition slowly. Phonotactics studies or deals with the ways in which these phonemes or phonemes are allowed to combine in a particular language. Okay, permitted arrangement of sounds or phonemes in a language. This is permitted. This is phonotactics. So such words, these words, physik or reneg, we don't have these words. Not existed. These words, what? They violate or they break the rules. Okay? They violate the constraints. They violate the phonotactic rules. We can put it in this way. They violate, they break the phonotactic rules. We don't have these words. Okay, it's very important. We come to syllables. And you know syllables. You are familiar with syllables. And we talk about syllables with onset. We have rhyme, nucleus, coda, vowel, consonants. Okay? I think you are familiar with it. You can read it. What is onset? One or more consonant followed by the rhyme. The rhyme sometimes written as rhyme or rhyme consists of a vowel which is treated as nucleus plus etc. What is open syllables, closed syllables? What is CC, consonant, vowel, consonant. Okay, you can see here green, VCC, VCC, okay, CVC, VC, consonant clusters. The same thing here. When we say consonant cluster, it means consonant plus one consonant. Also, you are familiar with these sounds. Okay, you can read it. And we have co-articulation. Co-articulation. Affect. Co-articulation in Arabic it means what? معناتها التجانس أو المجانسة. Okay. In much of the preceding discussion, we have been describing speech sounds in syllables and words as if they are always pronounced carefully and deliberately, almost in a slow motion, right? Speech isn't normally like that. Usually, in everyday life, speech is not slow in a slow motion, but speech is what? Is very rapid and quick, spontaneous. Okay, that's why we say this man or this woman is speaking fluently without any kind of stop. This is speech. So speech is not normally like that. Mostly our talk is fast and spontaneous, and it requires our articulators to move from one sound to the next without stopping. This is the normal speech, the speech that's in everyday life. So the process of making one sound almost at the same time as the next sound is called co-articulation. So this is the definition of co-articulation. There are two well-known co-articulation effects described as assimilation and elision. Assimilation يعني التماثل والelision it means حذف. We will see what are they. When assimilation, when two sound segments occur in sequence and some aspect of one sound is taken or copied by the other, the process is known as assimilation. Okay, so it's when we have two words. Okay, the first word at the end of the first word, the last phoneme is changed. We change the last phoneme. Why it is changed? Because of the word that follows it, the word that comes after the first word. That's why the first word or the last phoneme of the first word is what is influenced, is affected by the second word, the beginning, the first phoneme of the second word. So this is assimilation. If we think of the physical production of speech, we realize that this regular process happens simply because it is quicker, easier, and more efficient for our articulators as they do their job. For example, think of the word have by itself, have. Then think of it as it is pronounced in the phrase I have to go, I have to go. In everyday speech, when they produce a word or the sentence or the phrase I have to go, I have to go, they don't say I have to go. They say what? I have to, I have to, I have to, I have to go, I have to go, I have to go. They don't say I have to go, I have to go. And this phrase, as we start to say that T sound into which is voiceless, we tend to produce a voiceless version of the preceding sound, resulting in what sounds more like th than se. So we typically say have to in this phrase. We say have to, we have to go, we have to sleep, we have to eat, and we have to eat, have to. You see here? And you may even see it written informally. Sometimes informal speech they write it as have to, showing how assimilation from a voice to voiceless sound is perceived. Okay, here we have another example for vowel sounds, okay, etc. So we have so many examples. Sometimes we for example, the green park, green park, green park. They say what? Green park, green, me. Ne is changed into me. So they say what? Green bark, green bark. Okay? Green bark. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. So this is assimilation. You can read more and more about it. I want you to give me some examples of assimilation and elision. Okay? I want you to give me some examples. You can comment or write some examples on YouTube or on the class. Another example here, we have another of assimilation. Like for example, I can go, I can go, I can go, I can go, I can go. How normal speech, really slow speech, we can say it. But when we say it in a quick way, we can say شوف I كان صارت كان الناس صارت شوا شوا change ne influenced by ge هذا ne influenced by ge صارت in صارت I can go, I can go, I can go. Okay, so in rapid speech they say I can go, I can go, I can go, I can go, I can go. Marco, I can go, I can go, I can go, I can go. That's why we always say we don't understand English native speakers. English native speakers, when they usually speak, when we see them on the movies or in everyday life or on media, we try hard to understand what they are saying. We hardly understand what they say. Why? Because we are not familiar with these kinds of pronunciations, or we don't listen too much to them, or we don't speak English because we don't practice English. And even when we practice English, we use these simple words, okay, without using assimilation or elision or rapid speech. That's why we have this kind of difficulty in pronunciation, in understanding. Okay, so how to solve this problem? You can solve this problem by listening more and more by watching movies, by listening to videos, to YouTube, to songs, okay, and practicing at the same time. So both listening and practicing. When you listen more and practice English more, you will be able to sound like native speaker, like English native speakers. And when the native speakers talk with you, they will not distinguish that you are a foreign or non-native speakers. Why? Because you are using rapid speech. You are using rapid speech. You are using their language, their everyday life language. Okay, so this is very important. You all of us, or all of you students, you have to what? You have to listen more and more to sound like English native speakers. Another example here we have. Okay, we may, for example, pronounce and. For example, you and me. They say you and me, you and me, you and me. You see, you and me, you and me, you and me. Yani you and me, you and me. It means you and me, you and me. It means you and me. You see here, this is assimilation. We will come to elision. In the last example, illustrating the normal pronunciation of you and me, the sound of the word and was not included. So this is elision. Some sounds are what? Are dropped, are omitted, because it is not usually pronounced in this phrase. In the environment of preceding nasal ne and the following nasal ne, we simply do not devote or including the stop de. This isn't laziness, it is efficiency. There is also typically no de sound included in the everyday pronunciation of the word, like friendship. أنا بنقول friendship فهم شو يقول friendship شنو حتى يصير أكو عندنا smoothness و rapid speed. Okay, friendship لما أقول friendship. Okay, our friendship is good. This is a process of not pronouncing a sound segment that might be present in the deliberately careful pronunciation of a word in isolation is described elision. This is the definition of what? The definition of elision. Deliberately, okay? Not undeliberately. يعني deliberately, purposely, intentionally. You intend not to pronounce this sound. Also, in a consonant clusters, usually we drop some sounds. Okay, this, for example, word aspects. We say aspects, no aspects, the aspects. Okay, you see here, he must be, he must be, he must be, he must be, he must be. شوف, he must tell حذفت, he must be, etc. We have here more examples. Okay, and the last thing is normal speech. I talked about normal speech, okay, about this assimilation and elision occur in everyone's normal speech and should not be regarded as some type of slowness or laziness in speaking. It's not slowness or laziness in speaking, okay? In fact, constantly avoiding the regular patterns of assimilation and elision used in language would result in extremely artificial sounding talk. And if we don't use them, our talk is what is like, and it is artificial. It sounds artificial if we don't use them when we talk. So we have to use them in our daily life to sound like English native speaker, right? Thank you so much. If you have any question, any comment, you can add on YouTube or on the class. See you next time, next week, inshallah. We'll talk about chapter number 5.